0.3 Nigeria Info Lagos. Good morning to you once again. Thank you for joining us on the second part of Dailies Today. You can watch on Facebook. You can also watch on YouTube. Nigeria Info 99.3 is how you can watch us. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
And I'm Jimi Disu. Good morning. Sheriff, I heard your program this morning.
Yeah.
Concerning what we were laughing about yesterday, that appears to be something we need to take seriously.
Yeah.
And make sure that that doesn't happen. The demands of the traditional rulers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's laughable and everything. But when I had a discussion with somebody this morning on the issue, apparently it is something that is growing up, is bringing up bit by bit,
Yeah.
even in the East. And so we would like to ask that everybody try and contribute to this issue and make sure that it doesn't happen. It also, what it does is that it exhibits a new phenomenon that is extremely dangerous. And I think I will clear it up at 9 o'clock. This sense of entitlement and the kind of bizarre politics that we see being played now. If you don't nip it in the bud, it will ruin this country. And we definitely won't allow anything to ruin this country, will we?
No, we will not.
We will not.
We will not.
We need to keep
So that's coming up at 9.
that. Well,
Right.
since my appeal did not work.
Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper, page 7 this morning. Tina Turner, Queen of Rock and Roll, dies at 83.
Okay, so ordinarily we wouldn't start with the news of Tina Turner because I'm sure a lot of our listeners probably don't even know who she is. I mean, she's a musician, she's accomplished. She's reputed to have the finest legs ever, and at some point it was heard that she even insured the legs. But we can't talk about her music. That would be a select audience. Neither can we talk about legs because a lot of our female listeners will get jealous, But where I want to talk about is her tenacity. This woman was a victim of the worst abuse ever by her previous husband, Ike. The worst abuse ever. First of all, she was playing for him. Then they set up a band, Ike and Tina Turner, and they were playing together. And he beat the living daylights out of her. What didn't he do? To the point that the divorce that took forever, at the end of the day, she surrendered everything to him. But look at her today. One show alone, she grossed about $100 million about 10, 20 years ago. Very accomplished woman. And that is why I'm talking to our women today, and indeed our men. If you are in any form of union, get out of it. If it's becoming traumatic, sorry, I can't get there. Get out of it as quickly as you can, and just pray God that you can make a way. At the end of the day, she turned out 50 times more successful than the gentleman who was traumatizing her. And so, her life stands as a lesson. Go to the internet. Go to the internet, and you'll be able to read her life history and because she actually did write. She wrote what do you call it? An autobiography. I mean, look at what it says here. I'm reading from the Vanguard now. It says a brutal union. As Turner has stated in her autobiography and in interviews, the physical abuse began almost from the start. Thin-skinned and mercurial Ike Turner would fly into fits of rage at the slightest provocation, she said, adding that he would hit her with whatever was available. Coat hanger, telephones, a wooden shoe stretcher, or his fists. Often he said he'd even beat her before they went on stage. He'd hit me in the ribs and then always try to give me a black eye because the babe fine not be small, So he want to give her a black eye before she goes on stage. Now, some of you are familiar with this. Usually when you have this kind of thing, this kind of trauma, the man always targets the prettiest part of a woman. So he will give her a black eye before she goes on stage, making her fine again. Singers sang lead on most of the songs with the help of female back singers, while her husband remained in the background, usually on guitar. Offstage, her marriage remained tumultuous and fueled in part by Ike Turner's. He was also addicted to cocaine. If you find yourself in the union with a drug addict, get out of it.
You're in trouble.
You're in big trouble. Don't hang there. This idea of hanging somewhere because of the children, it doesn't make sense. You're only useful to your children if you are alive and well. I mean, what does it do to your children to see you in bruises, to hear you howling all night, and so on and so forth? She said sometimes they'd even fight in the dressing room. And one time he even broke her nose with blood gushing out of it. But she stuck with him. But one day, I think it was somewhere in the 90s, she decided that she'd had enough. May her soul rest in peace. We'll all miss her. But I don't want to bore you with some of the songs that she sang that you probably don't know. You know Tina Turner?
No. I only know what's love got to do with it.
Okay, sing another one.
What's love?
She didn't sing it like this now. I sing better than you.
Oh yeah, let's start. Sing Pakuruma by Wizkid.
I don't know Pakuruma. I don't know, but if you want me to sing a song, there's a song called CAMM or BBC. This guy will be laughing at home now. Kelvin, because he will be saying that I hope Oguti people don't sing the vulgar parts. Kelvin, sir, what don't go and sing BBC? Oh, there. It's I always feel so sorry for a woman who just find it so difficult to get out of a toxic marriage or a toxic union, as the case may be.
Right.
But this one will be inside to get inside like that.
You know, sometimes it's not easy for them as well to be able to get out, because what abusers usually do is to disenfranchise you, is to disempower you financially,
Yes.
emotionally. So
Yes.
they take away your sense of reasoning. They make you dependent on them. They make them the victim's god. So the victim rarely have the mind of her own, of
Lots
his
of
own.
self-confidence.
Yeah, so there's nothing left as far as
You
he or she
better
is
regain
concerned.
it. You better regain it. My advice to such people,
Yeah.
in the first instance, seek professional help and take a stand. Don't be afraid to start all over again. Take a stand. Don't be too scared to start all over again. And get professional help that will boost your confidence.
Right. Let's go to our next. Our next story is an editorial in the Punch newspaper, page 14. Buhari years triumph of unemployment, poverty.
This is a brutal editorial from by Punch. And more brutal is the back page column of the same Punch. I hid it from Sheriff because I didn't want him to read the headline by mistake. And neither would I. I would give Buhari that honor of not reading the headline. But go and look for the column on the back page, Thursday with Abimbola Adelakun. He has a headline, but I don't think I want to get into that. It's very brutal. I mean, you see what I'm saying? You see what
Yes,
I'm
yes, I saw it.
That's right.
I saw it.
Okay, so the editorial starts as he departs for his Daura Katsina home. Buhari bequeaths a tortured legacy of economic devastation. It highlights our record levels of unemployment, poverty, inflation, hunger, and despair. It says, though the regime has been making claims of achievements across all sectors, the reality of poverty and joblessness intrude stubbornly into its narrative. For many, his regime represents the worst era of economic privation, I think they meant deprivation, ever witnessed in the country since independence. The Punch argues that, look, Buhari met a battered economy with sharp drops in public revenue, bogged down by over-reliance on oil and gas receipts, low tax receipts, and huge fiscal leakages and skirting recession. but bewildered by the complexities of managing a modern economy, insular and statist, and distancing himself from experts, he failed to take the necessary bold steps. Instead, he applied outdated, ineffectual measures. The results were 2 recessions on his watch, huge debts, energy crisis, capital flight, a foreign exchange crisis, a crashing currency, decline in foreign direct investment, and production slowdowns and poverty. The figures at the quote here, they're frightening. The Punch says the National Bureau of Statistics said more than 8 million Nigerians were unemployed in 2015. That's 10.44% of the labor force. This was worrying enough to make voters reject Jonathan at the polls on Buhari's promise, among other considerations, to reverse unemployment. When he took over, however, another 13.5 million people were considered underemployed. That is, those working for less than 40 hours per week or in jobs that underline their qualifications. But soon, according to MBS figures, the unemployment rate rose steadily, reaching 23.1% in 2018 and sharply to 33.3% in 2020. Bloomberg reported in March 2021 that Nigeria briefly surpassed South Africa on a list of 82 countries whose unemployment rates were tracked, with Namibia leading with 33.4%. But wouldn't we look at the issue of COVID as one of the factors?
COVID should brought in, actually.
Brought in. So to put it, to make it fair, COVID also. When they talk about the youth segment, they say the situation is explosive. A report by the Spectator Index, a financial news online source, stated that 53%, Sheriff, 53% of Nigerian youths were unemployed, making the country the second worst in the world behind South Africa, which has 61% youth unemployment rate. And now the frightening one. The youth unemployment rate is expected to rise to 58% by the end of this quarter, according to Trading Economics. In a country with the youth accounting for over 60% of the population, this could spell disastrous consequences. They also talk about poverty, and they say poverty is raging. MBS research indicates that the poverty rate that had risen to 61% by 2012 increased to about 69% by 2015. The Punch, I skipped a whole lot of things, and now, they argue that Buhari repeatedly made mistakes, opted for wrong choices, and ignored expert input. That is significant. He ignored expert input when he wasn't even an expert himself. When in an economic hole, development experts advised reaching for the low-hanging fruits, Buhari did not. But he invigorated the privatization. Had he invigorated the privatization and liberalization program, privatizing the loss-making moribund refineries, concessioning viable airports, concessioning the ports, and so on and so forth, he would have unleashed a floodgate of investment, job creation, and competition. But he didn't do that. They also talk about his poverty-reducing the intervention schemes, which I find laughable. Trader money and farmer money.
The social welfare schemes.
Then this devastating one, I can't read the headline. Had I read it, Sheriff would have jumped in his seat. But she talks more about how his media was managed, his media management. And it's a regular column. It's on the back page of the Punch. Is Abimbola Adelakun. Do I hand over the paper to you?
Yes. Let me keep the paper.
Why? You
so
think I
don't
don't
make
mistake? But that was a bomb of a headline.
I know.
What do you think of it?
I think this type of piece, they need to be said. And I also think that apart from, if not for any other thing, for people who have seen the headlines, they will know what you're referring to. It's for the sake of the fact that we are here, so we may not be able to say it as the way it is, so it doesn't come across as somehow. But this is a perspective of some people.
Oh, it's mine. It's my perspective.
Okay, so
Oh no, listen.
Yeah.
I I even support the headline.
yeah,
But it's just there's something called discretion, and like you rightly said, so it doesn't even come out. Some people won't even know you are reading the headline.
Right.
They probably
Right.
would say that's what you said, and that's why. Oh, I support it 100%. The article is top notch, and I probably would have cast that kind of headline. What? Sorry, 1 second,
Yeah.
Sheriff. What it also shows is the level of anger. A lot of people. I'm completely upset with Buhari. Completely. To think that I was one of his greatest supporters way back from '84. I was one of his big time supporters. I remember the altercation I had with Muiwa Adetiba way back then when Babangida took over. I thought that Buhari was leading us on the right path.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
with the benefit of hindsight, it's possible that it was Idiagbon that was doing the job. This is not the Buhari that I used to know.
Well, it was rumored. It's been rumored that.
This is not. This is definitely not the Buhari that I thought I supported against Jonathan. Definitely not. This is not the Buhari. I don't know what happened. Whether something happened along the line or we got the readings wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know how kind history will be to this gentleman. In my own estimation, I better not be writing that history book. Yes, you wouldn't buy him for a pen. I better just not write that history book. I don't know how history is going to be kind to him. All the way down from the beginning, right down to the very end. If you know what I'm talking about. Very sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take this one here.
Let us tell them the news.
Yeah. Lecturers need industrial experience to produce. Oh, okay. We have a PTO. Okay. Yeah, we have a PTO.
Oh, the PTO.
Yeah, inside.
Yeah, still looking at that headline.
Pages 4 and 5.
Yes, that's why you're
Let me close this one.
I like to use this to break so that you get to know what's going on. Rampaging gunmen shoot 3 Ebonyi policemen dead. Police students kill self after losing money to gambling. Samuel Adegoke, he killed himself. He drank an insecticide. I'm sure you know what insecticide that could have been. 3 jailed for diverting dead person stocks. Enugu police arrest 4 for ATM fraud. Grandma demands justice for defiled Lagos pupil. NGO plans protest. Let me say this. BC Oluwatayo, the grandmother of a 4-year-old pupil of Greater Schools International School, Aja, who was reportedly defiled by the school security guard recently, has demanded justice for her child. I hope those concerned are listening. Mrs. Adeni, please, you might want to look into this. Her grandchild was allegedly defiled by the school guard simply identified as David, under the guise of cleaning her up. Oh, my God. How sad.
Yeah. I'll be discussing gambling second week of June, I think, on my show.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Gambling addiction, yeah.
Yeah, it's as bad as drug addiction.
It's really bad.
I have a friend who...
It's really bad.
2 friends, actually, sometime in their lives who got addicted. Because what it means is if you're a gambler, you're addicted to gambling. If, for example, you are the head of admin, okay, or if, let's say, you are the head of station, and they give you money to go and buy equipment for the station, you're likely to gamble half of it away, thinking that you can double it,
or even everything,
It's a very sad state of affairs.
Right.
And so this guy ended up killing himself. Armed men abduct 2 Adamawa pastors and so on and so forth. Let me see. There should be some nice... By the way, Lagos State opened up about 4 jetties yesterday. And I'm happy that has happened.
Oh.
Yes, they've opened up 4 nicely built jetties. I actually saw pictures of them.
Beautiful.
And they've done well in that sense.
Beautiful.
But we need more.
Yes, we do.
We need more like bus stops.
Yeah.
We need to work quite a lot on our water, but it's a good start. They look quite decent where you could sit, board the boats. They need to do something about some of these boats that are at least on the Ikorodu route. We don't want canoes as boats. Let's get something that is standard. But it was quite well. I'm quite impressed with that. So It's here. Lagos unveils 4 new jetties. Thank God it's even here. The jetties are Ijegun Egba Jetty, Ilashe Jetty, Amowo Odofin, Isalu Ajido Jetty, and Marina Badagry Jetty. But we need more, but it's a very good start. It looked quite nice and so on and so forth. It's a very good start. Commission trains LASU officials in workplace safety. Keep Jack on these memories alive, Academy tells fellows. If you get a picture of the Punch, if you get a copy of the Punch on page 6, Yomi Badede Okusonya is wearing one attire I'd love to copy. Look at that. Look at it. you might want to ask him for his tailor. What's he doing here? It's some Sabre Africa Awards, but I mean, look at that. Isn't that graceful? Okay, so let's go on to the next.
Let's take our next story. Let's take our next story quickly. So I have this story here. This one reads, Sheun Kuti, you can't be complainant. Prosecutor, magistrate tells police.
Yeah, okay. So the latest thing that has happened is that at the courts yesterday, the police are trying to insist that they would want to prosecute Sheun Kuti. Sheriff, you know what that means. The kind of charges that have been drawn up, I don't think a DPP would pass that. That looks a bit vengeful. That's my opinion. So the magistrate Adeola Olatubosun, said, ruled that the police cannot be the complainant and also the prosecutor at the same time. So they are insisting, the judge is insisting that you should send the file to the DPP. She says, let me quote the magistrate. The magistrate said, I need the advice of the DPP to know whether he should be prosecuted or not. And I think what she probably also meant is that prosecuted, what he could be prosecuted for. Because it was said that, I don't know, well, they went to his house, obviously. There's evidence of that. Said some substances were taken for analysis, I don't know. They wanted to draw his blood. You know, I don't know what that had got to do with slapping.
The slap.
And there was some rumor about wanting to take him to whatever to check his mental state. Come on, give me a break. So the judge has waded in, and the case has been adjourned to the 3rd of July. To the 3rd of July. It's a pity that Sean missed some of the shows that were lined up for him. That hurts me a lot. But he'll make up for it, hopefully. And so there's also a story in the Vanguard, and it talks about police versus Kuti, persecution in prosecution. And it's written by Ebunolu Adegborua. He's the senior advocate of Nigeria. I don't want to take too much of your time, go through the article. But one of the highlights says this: the slapping alone cannot be the reason for the excessive actions of the police against Sheun unless there are other undercurrents not known to the general public. I do believe there's some other undercurrents. I saw 1 or 2 videos that opened my eyes to where some of this might be coming from, but it's not for me to now come and stress it. So if they hadn't noticed, they go pick that one up. But definitely there's more than meets the eye. There's more than meets the eye in the way the case is going.
Yeah. So there's this story here. Yoruba monarchies, constitutional roles in government. That's right on page 33. But did you see this other story here?
Which one? Your Assembly passes Chiefs Amendment Bill. No.
Have you seen this story? Particularly is about the governor trying to put it in the state law that he has the right to crown anybody without consultation.
Correction, sir.
Sir.
It doesn't talk about the rights. The new law gives the governor the discretionary right and sole authority.
And sole authority. He doesn't have to consult anybody.
Oh, my
He can make anybody.
What is going on in this country?
Yep. Yep.
What is going on? I heard you this morning.
Yep.
And I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Honestly. What is the spirit that is moving around this country that makes everybody believe that they own that country? First of all, chieftaincy matters ideally should be left to those who run it.
Right.
The governor's job really is just maybe if there's a dispute or whatever, he can then come in or just approve administratively. So what it means, the institution of ownership in Nigeria, in Yoruba land, is under a very, very serious
Threat.
For want of a more serious word. And the earlier a lot of us behave responsibly about it, the better. To think of all and not to think of a few people. If you look at the demands you were talking about this morning, not only were they embarrassing, they were frightening. You know, that this kind of things should be surfacing at a time when people are trying so hard to instill democracy in all ramifications. We seem to want to be closing up. You understand?
Yeah.
We seem to want to be closing up, and I don't know where all this is coming from. Well, since you won't allow me to, in spite of my cold, I will touch it at
Please do.
If I sneeze during that program, you don't know. Oh,
I have hot tea.
I don't want your tea.
I will bring hot tea for you.
Better coffee down the road.
I'll bring hot tea. Tea is good.
It's a bit expensive, but no, mocha coffee. Well, I don't drink any.
Oishi.
Mocha.
Oishi. Future over.
You should be picking up my bill down the road, actually.
Excuse me?
Yes.
No way. That's not happening. That's our show today, Lagos. Good morning to you. The news is next at the top of the hour, please.
We all have that one friend that always hides everything from everyone else. Like my guy, Sheon, that got 1 gig free data when he downloaded my MTN NG app. Did he share the gist with us?
No!
But we found out, and even something he doesn't know, that we get up to 2 gig data if we recharge 500 naira or more on my MTN NG app with our debit card.
You don't mean it!
That's not all, though. We also get 10% extra on every...
And I want to assume that you would run because I want to give the listeners context for the conversation.
In 2019, you were running mate to Atiku Abubakar. What did you learn then that you will not repeat this time?
Yes, when is the president coming out to address us?
There's a few things. One, I have a burden and a passion for young people.
The fact that you have elected a man does not mean then you begin to order him around. The president will do whatever is good for the country at any given time.
Mr. Adeshino, isn't the president responsible to the people?
What should the next president do to root out stakeholders who are complicit?
You fire those. Those that need to be fired are fired. It's looking like a brand new Chelsea, attacking with so much fluidity. And what can you say about that, Martin? I know you follow Chelsea quite closely.
I live close to the Chelsea training ground. That's what you mean by that. I'm not a